I am getting older in a city 6,000 miles from where I was raised, from where my family lives, from the culture I was raised in. I am growing old in a country whose language I still struggle with, even after years of study. I am growing old on the third floor of a Prague apartment building with precarious stairs and no lift. I am occasionally thinking more seriously about things like a Czech pension, Czech medical care, and what's it like inside a Czech elderly home. If you're new to my channel, I'm an American immigrant living in Czechia for the past 11 years, and I don't really see myself going back to America permanently. That means that I'm going to grow old in Czechia, my adopted country. At certain times, no matter what our age, we sometimes feel old. I know 30-year-olds who think they're old, and I roll my eyes at them, much like a 75-year-old watching this video might roll their eyes at me. But I want to reframe the perspective of aging in this video. No one really notices aging on a daily or weekly or monthly basis because there is no change. So if tomorrow I'm basically the same as I am today, and I'll be pretty much the same next week, how do we ever notice aging at all? I think we feel old when there are no noticeable changes to our daily lives, and then some event happens that reminds us how old we are, like a birthday or a reunion, and it startles us. It makes us sit up and pay attention to the years gone by. And we think, have I been living this same life or doing this same job for the past year? For the past decade? And that feeling of a lot of time passing without a lot of changes to show for it, that's what makes us feel old. And this is why I think that living in a foreign country might actually be the fountain of youth. Let me explain. How would you like a magic pill that boosts your recall, your concentration, and your attention span? All you need to do is learn another language, or at least try to learn another language. Studies show that older people who try to learn another language get even more brain health benefits than young people studying another language, even if they're not really good at it. Now, the beauty of learning another language is that you can do it anytime and anywhere, especially with the help of my long-term sponsor, italki. So italki is a language learning platform that connects native-speaking teachers with students who are trying to learn. I've been using italki for years, way before they ever made me an official ambassador. In fact, I just finished my 138th lesson. I have a totally unpredictable schedule, and so sometimes I need an early morning lesson, sometimes I'm preparing for an exam, and so I need a lesson every day, and then sometimes I have a Czech presentation to give or a video to make, and so I can book a quick 30-minute lesson the night before to practice my pronunciation. That's the beauty of italki. It works with your schedule, whenever or wherever you are. Right now, italki is having one of their biggest giveaways ever. You could win up to 400 euros of italki credits. And all you have to do is take the leap. Here's how. Go to the link in the description box below and click Enter Giveaway. Download and log into the italki app. Make sure to log in and allow for push notifications. For an extra chance to win, sign up for a one-on-one lesson. 4 lucky winners will get 120 euros worth of italki credits, and 1 winner will get 400 euros worth of italki credits. If you're a viewer of my channel, you've heard me talk about italki for years. So what's holding you back? Make this the year that you take language learning seriously. Your brain and your older self will thank you. As an American immigrant to Prague, I face new challenges every day. Now, a lot of those have to do with language, but they also have to do with figuring out a whole new way that the system works. There's a whole new way of doing things that's culturally appropriate to my adopted country. With the right attitude, those challenges can become kind of like a game instead of frustrations. Instead of focusing on the discomfort of every challenge, You can focus instead on building your skill set. Focus on what you're actually learning as you solve these problems. I'm talking about little things, like every week we learn something new. For example, how to dispose of an old couch in a new city, or how to clear a debt that I didn't know I had. Back home in Los Angeles, these challenges would have just been irritations, frustrations. But here, every time we figure out a way to navigate a problem, we feel hugely accomplished, and we sort of add it to the list of things we know how to do in this country. Overcoming adversity actually gives us a lot of pride as immigrants. In a way, it's the same feeling of accomplishment that you got when you were a kid and you learned a new skill, like how to ride a bike, or how to swim without a life jacket on, or learning to solve some difficult math problem. As an adult, in your normal day-to-day life, how often do you get that feeling of accomplishment because you actually learned something new? When you live in a foreign country, these challenges come almost every day. And so these small rewards of accomplishment keep us curious to try new things without fear, kind of like when we were kids. And that makes you feel young. For those of us who made the choice to move abroad, we did it because we wanted diversity. We want to experience something totally new and different. New food, new climate, new landscape, new visual stimulation. We wanted to see the world through the eyes of another culture. Why do Italians take a 3-hour lunch break while Americans skip their lunch break so they can keep working? Why do Japanese people sort of dance around a harsh truth in order to keep the harmony in a conversation, while Czech people just tell it like it is? This constant exposure to a new way of doing things makes us less rigid and stuck in our ways. You cannot actually survive abroad if you are constantly trying to impose your way of doing things on the other culture. You will get frustrated and you will fail. You have to remain open-minded to another way of doing things and realize that sometimes there are better ways of doing things than in your home country. And so instead of judging others, we ask questions. Why did they do it this way? Why is the waitress over there chatting up her colleague when I need service? Could it be that this culture has a totally different view of customer service than I do at home? Why did my colleague criticize my work so bluntly in front of others? Could it be that in his culture, honesty is more important than not hurting your feelings? It's kind of like being a kid and learning to get along with others on the playground for the first time. You are learning new rules of interaction, and that keeps us young. When we live in another culture, we are released from the timetable of cultural expectations. Every culture tells their people that there are appropriate times and places to do certain things, to act certain ways. For going to school, for starting a family, for having a career. And everyone in that culture, from the 30-year-old to the 80-year-old plus, thinks that there is an appropriate time to do something. Either I'm too old for that or I'm too young for that. And this timetable is very ingrained in us. Even moving abroad has a certain timetable. In my culture, it's acceptable to take a year abroad when you're in university or perhaps after you retire. But to move abroad when you're my age is a little strange. But when you finally do move abroad, you notice that people around you aren't keeping tabs on your cultural timetable. To them, you're a little bit of a strange alien with different rules. They might be interested in those differences and your life choices, but they're not quite like your peers back in your culture that exert a little bit more peer pressure on you. I remember traveling through India alone. This was many years ago. I was at a point in my life where I felt sort of out of sync with my cultural timetable. I had just left my job to follow my husband to his new career. I felt this invisible pressure from my peers to have a more serious career. Meanwhile, not one single person in India asked me about my career or my work. They all wanted to know when I was going to start a family. In my culture, I had plenty of time to do that. Now, they weren't necessarily judging me, they were just curious because according to their cultural timetable, a woman of my age should have at least 4 children by then. But because I wasn't part of their culture, I was sort of released from the peer pressure. Meanwhile, I was also released from my American culture of figuring out a serious career because I wasn't around any Americans. So by being an American in India, I was kind of released of all expectations. I could just be me and not worry if I was too old or too young to be doing something. As soon as you are released from the expectations of others, the world is your oyster and you're somewhat ageless. Now, I truly believe that living abroad helps to keep me younger. Learning a language helps my brain. Being around new people helps keep me fresh and young and always learning new things. But I am still getting older. Those stairs are getting harder. I've got a few gray hairs. I need reading glasses. These changes are inevitable. And I do ask myself, what will it really be like to grow old in Prague instead of Los Angeles? As far as I can tell, Los Angeles is a terrible place to grow old. There aren't any old people. I don't know where they are. I think they send them to Florida. Los Angeles is a hard place to be when you're as old as 30. But in Prague, I see people of all ages all over the place. I witness every day what it's like for people with limited capabilities, due to age perhaps, try to navigate a somewhat difficult city. It looks challenging, but these years are gonna pass anyway, whether I'm sitting in traffic on the 405 freeway or if I'm navigating the cobblestones of Prague. I think in order to make those years count, so I don't feel like I'm just living the same life as I did a decade ago, I have to be learning new things every day. I have to be challenging myself, and I have to be constantly exposing myself to new things. Maybe in 10 years, I'll feel like such a Pražačka that in order to maintain all of these anti-aging benefits, I'll have to move to an even stranger place. A place so foreign, so alien that it makes Praguers look normal. Dream, but no. Here's to getting older abroad. Uvidíme se příště. Ahoj.